Hi, good morning. This is Venkat Krishna and I will talk about the India's budget 2019 and 20 because today morning Nirmala Sitharaman introduced this financial year budget in the parliament, and she is the first woman who introduced full term financial budget in the parliament, and the budget cost estimates around 28 lakh crore rupees. Most of them comes from the revenue and capital and debts. And if we look at, there are many pros and cons in the bill, and there are positives. I will discuss the positives first. The first point is, the fiscal deficit. They wanted to bring it from 3.4 to 3.3%. Definitely, it's a welcome decision. So last year it was a 3.4, and this government is very much sincere since the beginning in the sense of fiscal deficit and inflation. Inflation is also around 3.3 in our country now. And the second point is they kept target India's economy as the 5 trillion USD by 2024. It's not so easy to achieve 5 trillion USD by 2024 without having proper infrastructure in the country. So with that purpose, she proposed a lot of infrastructure projects in her budget. And one thing is railways. She proposed 50 lakh crores required in the railway sector for the coming 12 years from 2019 to 2030. And for any government, it's a highly impossible or almost impossible to invest 50 lakh crore rupees. So that's why she proposed public-private partnership. With this partnership, every year railway tracks will be 10,000 kilometer railway tracks laid in the country, and it's a very welcome decision because railway situation is deteriorating day by day. So with this project, I think railway situation will increase. And apart from that, the government is pushing a lot of money in other infrastructure projects also, like empowering the Pradhan Mantri Gramin Sadak Yojana or national highways, empowering the national highways, or empowering the ports and all. And apart from that, the government is willing to construct around 1.93 crore new houses with the name of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana in the coming 4 months. That is also a welcome decision. So if overall the government is very much interested or very much willing to invest a lot of money in the infrastructure sector. And apart from that, the government also proposed many important projects in her budget. If we look at commercialization of ISRO, so they are going to start one commercial company of the ISRO, because ISRO is getting around 12,000 crore every year from the government of India. It's totally dependent on the government. When compared with the Western space agencies, ISRO space agency is a very cheaper, and it launches satellites with very cheap cost. They are self-dependent, and whereas ISRO is not self-dependent. So with that purpose, they started this commercial company. So this commercial company launches satellites, private satellites or other country satellites, and they will market all these things, and they will provide that money to the ISRO. So that money, ISRO will not dependent on the government of India. And she also proposed a research foundation. So National Research Foundation, that is also one welcome decision, because all the government departments, whoever have research projects, they will provide it to the NRF, National Research Foundation, and all the academicians or all the startups for the funding projects, they will approach the National Research Foundation. Apart from that, they also proposed other projects like empowering the startups or empowering the self-help groups. And one more interesting thing at here is they have kept target is 1,05,000 crore for the disinvestment. But it's definitely one doubt also whether the government can achieve 1,05,000 crore for the disinvestments or not, because last year they kept 1 lakh crore as a target, but they achieved 80,000 crore only. Out of 80,000 crore, they got it from the 40,000 crore by selling the HPCL shares to the ONGC. We can say it's not a disinvestment, because if you want to say disinvestment means government property should be sold it to the private organizations or private people or to the public. Here government company purchased government company, so we cannot say it's a disinvestment. So it's definitely one question arises when government kept as a 1,05,000 crore target for the disinvestments. But if it success or if it achieves, definitely we should encourage, because of the sick industries, most of the taxpayer money going to the sick industries. And one more thing is the government is allocated around 70,000 crore to the banks and NBFCs. So without empowering these banks, it's very difficult to run the country or to show the more progress. And one more interesting news is the non-performing assets has come down. 1 lakh non-performing assets has come down. Definitely we should appreciate this. And when we come to the negatives of the budget, many addressing problems are there. They need to address many problems. Like agrarian sector is in very much crisis in India. They did not address the minimum supportive price, or they did not address crop storage and all, because without crop storage farmers cannot get any benefit. They wanted to store their crops if they don't get suitable price. The government is totally failed to address the farmers issues. And another thing is, this year the water level level has totally fallen. The groundwater level shortage or rivers water level shortage are there. And in this case, and this year is El Nino is also there. So in this situation, the government is failed to address this water crisis problem, because the water crisis problem only you can address by solving the rivers interlinking concept, because the northern Indian rivers always have a surplus water, whereas southern Indian rivers will always deficit water, because they totally depends on the rainfall, whereas here northern Indian rivers depends on the Himalayas. So by melting of the ice, the rivers always fill with water. And they also forgotten, or they did not address the jobs generation also. Jobs generation is one of the most concerning thing, because recent statistics has shown that 6.1% unemployment youth is there in the public. That is also one of the major concern. Another concern is sustainable energy or easy of living, because the temperatures are growing every year, increasing every year. So for that purpose, in order to reduce the temperature, we should depend on the sustainable energy, like encouraging the electrical vehicles. They announced some subsidy to the or incentives to the electrical vehicles, but on the highways they need to insert some power sockets to for the electrical vehicles and all. So the government is failed to address some problems also. So on average, finally we can say the budget has some positives and some negatives. Hopefully, even though if they don't allocate some amount, or if they did not announce anything in the budget speech, we need not worry, because that depends on how much they allocated to the particular ministry is also a matter. So even though if they don't address these problems in the budget speech, if they allocate money to the ministries, we need not worry. So hope the government performs well in the coming 5 years. Thanks for watching.